going to conferences all the time is the main driver for progress in your skill set and also your relationship, and basically any professional can become a better professional by attending conferences.
It's not the standard, okay? It's a movie theater, but the visual is great and the sound is great, and I've seen a lot of room and space, and I think it's organized well.
Seeing all the people here today and they're excited about stuff, and you can see the energy and the desire to learn and do new things.
And I was positively surprised about the depth, the technical depth of the sessions, and how that makes the tester part of the team.
I think developers do benefit from coming to QA conferences, just the same as testers can benefit from going to dev conferences. You've got to have a broad understanding of what's going on.
It's really inclusive. I would say it's super diverse. People are really, really open and friendly, and it's really organized.
Conferences are well worthwhile just for the ideas that they spark in people. When people come back to the office, they're full of ideas and they're all energized up.
Hi, my name is Gjore Zaharchev. I'm Quality Assurance Line Manager at Sievers. It's an international company based in Macedonia. At this talk I will discuss about some interesting design patterns and how to avoid some common design patterns that are getting not very helpful. So how to benefit more from the test automation. Visit my presentation and you will learn a lot of new things. Thank you. Hello. So today I'm going to talk about one interesting topic about effective test automation using some pattern object model. I'm not sure is there such a pattern object is there some sort of a design pattern like pattern object model, but I have named it like that because I have identified as patterns. First of all, who am I? My name is Gjore Zaharchev, Quality Assurance Line Manager at Sievers Group. Sievers is a multinational company. I'm located in Macedonia. I'm responsible for all offices around the globe. Software testing consultant, working with clients, working on projects. I have more than 14 years hands-on experience with software testing and with developing software solutions. I'm also teaching software testing. I have started this several years ago, more than 3 years ago, and I found it very fun, so I continued. I'm still doing it. I'm conference and testing meetup speaker. Maybe some of you have seen me on different conferences. And I'm also a strong supporter of agile testing and test automation. What we are going to talk at today's speech, I will talk about challenges that we're facing with test automation, known design patterns, pattern object model, I think that I named it like that, and similar solutions and some summary and recommendation. What are the challenges? First of all, we think that we are going to be victim of test automation, but actually I've seen so many solutions, I have interviewed so many people, I have seen so many frameworks from client side, and none of them are perfect maybe in the next 10, 20, 30 years to replace any manual testing at all. They're not even ready to, most of them are not even ready to replace the manual work on the repetitive work like smoke testing, regression testing, and so on. So yeah, we're safe. What are the challenges regarding the people? We are facing a lot of challenges regarding the people. People don't know programming. In order to work on these perfect frameworks that our clients have, or the perfect frameworks in our companies, we need to know very solid programming. But the thing is that people don't know programming. The other thing is people don't have time to learn programming because too busy on the projects doing some Sisyphean work, pushing the rock, and people don't have time to learn programming. The other thing is I have seen so many testers, especially in the Eastern Europe nowadays, like Ukraine, like Belarus, and because we have an office in Belarus and I interviewed people from Ukraine, Moldova, Belarus, and these are not technical people at all. They don't have the skills of technical people. So nowadays, so many people are becoming software testers. Then the clients do not allow less experienced people to work on automation. So our clients are requiring very highly experienced people to work on test automation, which is impossible sometimes. Then we are facing with some tool challenges like human readable tests. Our tests are very complicated. Even Gherkin language is introduced and people think that it's going to solve their problem, but still writing Gherkin feature files is not solving the problem and does not solve the test automation challenges. The other thing is easy knowledge transfer. Are there any tools that people can have an easy knowledge transfer? Are there tools that troubleshooting easiness? People can troubleshoot things very easy and do the debugging very easy, find the issue very easy. The other thing is boost test reliability. Are our tests reliable at all? Because sometimes if we execute the same test multiple times and we are getting different results, that means that our tests are not reliable because once they're failing 3 times, they're not failing, and so on and so on. And also the other thing is accelerating the test execution. How can we accelerate? I have, again, seen so many examples from test automation frameworks, especially a lot of interviews with people, and I can see a lot of manual waiting, treat sleeps, and so on, that is waiting too much. And the last challenge with the tools are to extend the framework to fit any needs. Are these frameworks able to fit any need, or we need to write the framework on any new project, which is most often the case? Why rewriting the same framework over and over again? Imagine you have a tool like Postman. Why should we rewrite the Postman every time? I'm referring here to web automation frameworks, because we have very solid free and open source API testing frameworks. Some common design patterns that we are used to it when we are doing the web automation using Selenium WebDriver, especially page object model and page factory. And we think if we have page object model, it's going to solve all of our problems, like code reuse. We can reuse the same code over and over again. And if you have more than 2-3 lines of code in your page object, definitely you cannot not reuse it over and over again. It's only some particular cases. The other thing is maintainability. Yeah, we have page object model. We can maintain the code easy. We can change the XPaths, the locators very easy, and so on. Readability. Page object model helps with easy understanding the code, easiness in understanding the code, readability, good readability of the code, and so on. On the other side, Page Factory, it's some sort of improved code with some annotations that they have. Code is shorter in some sort of a way. It's not, but yeah, it looks like it's shorter, and these are the benefits. But are these still going to solve our problem? Because if we have different kinds of buttons in our system, we need to rewrite almost the same code. Depends on how many buttons we have, or if we have input fields, we need to rewrite the same code over and over again, even is it page factory or page object model. So why rewriting the same code over and over again? If we look Selenium WebDriver in Java, let's say we have very different ways. I'm showing 7 or 8 different ways of writing some code. So for example, if we want to click some button, we can write driver find element by xpath and click. So this is the easiest way to do some things. It's implicit weight, something that should be avoided and should not be used. And sometimes will not work, sometimes will work. So adding 3 sleeps on this. And when you have, this is pretty important, when you have people that are leaving the project, going to another project, leaving the company, people that are coming. And if we look all of these 7 or 8 different approaches of writing code, it's very difficult for new people that are arriving to understand what the other people wanted to say. So if we have 3 or 4 people, or sometimes even if we have 1 person working on this test automation, we can see code like this. For the same thing, now creating an object from a web element class, then that element is doing some action, again, implicit weight, and we have more code that sometimes is not needed at all. Then we have some other approach, creating class objects that are 1 level up, so creating separate different kind of structure. So if someone is not understanding programming, will be even more confused. Yeah, I know test automation, I know how to click these things, I did copy paste, for example. That person will say, but I'm seeing this approach for the first time in my life. I don't know what to do with it. And then someone will say, yeah, implicit weight is not working. Let's do explicit weight. So let's wait for on each element for 20 seconds now. What if this time changes? For example, sometimes they're putting 5 seconds. I just put 20 seconds. Putting 20 seconds, but what if this time change for some element? So what we are going to do, going through the system 1 by 1, and we will have millions of different waiting times. So wait until expected condition is reached, visibility of element, for example, and click the element. The other thing is combining with the WebDriver, web element class. So even more code and even more complications. So you can see a page object that has 5 lines of code, which is for me unacceptable. I know that some rule says no more than 4 lines, but I will say if you're doing more than 3 lines, you're doing something wrong. So each page object that has more code in it, you're doing something wrong. Then, for example, the same action, but now combination and mixing implicit weight and explicit weight, adding 3 sleeps, too much waiting, very difficult execution. In the last case is someone will say, yeah, you need try catch if this is not going. So I have very simple try catch, but sometimes someone is adding an if cycle. If this is not reaching in 5 milliseconds, repeat the flow, and even more and more code, which is unacceptable again, because the code is not readable, the code cannot be understood very well. No one can adopt to that framework with easiness, and we will have a lot of issues. I have came to some, after years of thinking, actually I started this framework and this approach in 2013, 2012 actually, not 2013, 2012, and I thought on how we are going to simplify the things. Do we actually need the design patterns that I mentioned? Do we need page object model, or we can even create general structure of the things? While I was thinking on this, I was thinking what we have, what are the common patterns. So the first question that I ask myself, do I need to reinvent the wheel? Because this is invented. Is there a way to reinvent it again? Am I spending my time? Do I need to do something different? And again, I said, yeah, definitely I need to reinvent the wheel. If I don't reinvent the wheel, how we are going to come, for example, if we never reinvented the wheel to the strongest wheel in the world, like the Mars rover wheel that is the strongest in the world. So if I didn't accept the challenge to reinvent the wheel, I wouldn't come to some better idea that helped me on a lot of projects to start on day one, to have some test that is not 100% ready, but something that can be shown to the client. The framework is installed, that can people involve to this. People can involve to this process with easiness, because junior members were difficult to involve to complicated frameworks and so on. So yeah, definitely reinventing the wheel. So even if I'm considering one concept, that doesn't mean that concept is final. So I'm constantly improving the framework on one place, and because I'm building it with Maven and on GitHub, it's already on GitHub with Jetpack. Anyone can easily change in his Maven or Gradle file and get the latest version. First of all, I came to an idea that we have elements and actions. Elements like input fields, buttons. It's the same for all the buttons in the world, all the applications will be the same thing. Sometimes we can wait for visibility, sometimes can wait for clickability of that element. Then driver browser initialization. So yeah, it's the same. Why we need to rewrite it over and over again when we can put it in a common class and reuse it on all projects? As I said, buttons and links, we can do click on them. We cannot do anything else. So why writing, if we can only click on them, why writing tens of thousands page objects to do the buttons in the entire system? And we have input fields like type text, clear text, append text, and so on. Then we have alerts. We can do something with alerts like accept alerts, dismiss alerts. So yeah, these are the options. There are no more options that can exceed this. Also with drop-downs, we can select by option, we can select by some text that is in the option, but again, a limited number of functions, 2 or 3 functions. What we can do with text, in order to validate something, we can retrieve the text or the attribute value, but again, we cannot change that. So it's pretty simple. So if we collect these things, we don't have more than 15 elements, and we don't have total, including elements and actions, more than 15, 20. So the number is now reducing. So if we look all of the applications in the world, we can say, yeah, these are the common things. These are the common things that can be noticed. Again, so we have working with properties files, Excel files, system variables. I have seen one project when people were doing data-driven testing, reading from Excel, and they had more than 20 different approaches and 20 different libraries to read from Excel files, because every person didn't know how to reuse them, how to reuse the code, how to reuse the code from the other person. Just did writing some example from Stack Overflow, and just adopted it. So very different approaches for doing one common thing. And again, the question is, if we are using the same approach in multiple projects, is there a need to do it again and again, rewriting code, looking for that solution? I don't know, 20 people, because we have more than 100 software testers in my company. So imagine 100 people, let's say 70 of them are working test automation, and 70 people need to rewrite different functions, and that will be a real mess. Then I came to this set of classes like alerts, buttons, drop-downs, files, gestures for mobile testing, input, some key actions, some missed things like drag and drop. I was unsure where to place this. because on one project we had the need to place drag and drop. Then we have work with databases, work with data sources like Excel files, JSON files, CSV files, extracting things like extracting test value, extracting attribute value, navigations, going back, going forward, doing refresh, opening a browser, and so on. I have removed this class validate because there was no need to reinvent the SRJ, for example, I'm using for validation. So it's better, and I like it more than my classes. Different sort of weightings with custom time, and so on. So these are the things that came to my mind, and that I solved them in one framework that can be used on different projects. So what I did, I created only one navigation to the element when we want to do visibility of element, for example. So I'm waiting for element until expected condition visibility of element. So I'm just providing the locator. Locator can be specified either in some separate class. It can be specified either in a properties file, JSON file, etc. So locator came from anywhere. And again, I solved the same solution, but when we have a list of objects, because not always our XPath is returning only one result. So and this is the other thing. So solving get element twice and did the job for all of our projects. And then I have created, for example, separate methods, like my method navigate to is doing a navigation to an URL. My method input type is just getting a parameter locator and some text, and just calling the page object, the pattern from my previous class. So I have extra classes that I've shown previously. So if we look the tests, and for example, I was trying to do the simplest test in the world. So if you look the test, and we will see that, for example, if we place the locators here, I'm just extending my class called elements. In my class elements, I have objects from class navigate, from class browser, from class input, and I'm just calling these objects because they're public. I'm just calling navigate to, providing the URL. I also have a method named $, with $sign and $, and with the $sign, I'm reading from a properties file for a particular environment. With $, I'm getting parameters from system environment variables, because in the system environment variables, I'm providing the browser, I'm providing informations like the environment, I'm providing so many different things when executing my tests. So these tests can be executed on any browser, any environment, and so on. So browser can be maximized, minimized, full screen, some particular dimension, and so on. So solving the problem, I don't need now to create a user, to type a username. I don't need any more separate page objects, because I have solved the problem with all the input fields in my system. So I'm just focusing on my tests. I don't focus on the page objects. I just need to focus only on locators. For example, if I place them in one class, here it's not a good example because I place them in the same class, but they need to be placed in different places, because usually we have more than I don't know 100 locators. And again, at the end, we have some tear down that we are just doing browser close. It can be tab close. So different approaches. So very easily implemented all of these things. So now, if a new tester, new test automation engineer came and want to adapt to the framework, he will not need to look for different things, like I mentioned in the example of doing a click with on 6 or 7 different ways. Now he will be sure that clicking is the same for all of the buttons. Don't need to rewrite that part of the code if someone finds an issue which was happening in the past more often. The issue was solved in all of the test frameworks across, because I was solving in my framework, pushing that code to GitHub. Jetpack was building the new version and just providing that new version to all of my team members. So I don't need to reinvent now the wheel on every new project, but only once. So everyone is using the benefit of this framework. Everyone can easily see what was changed, and just to use that new part. Even if we add new implementation to the framework, that new implementation is becoming available with just incrementing the version people are using. So tests are becoming more readable, more understandable, and easier to be used. And because we are using single framework that is extended everywhere, we are debugging the things on one place. And if someone faces the same issue on different projects, the solution is already there. Someone will ask, are there any similar solutions? Are there any similar frameworks? Of course they are, but very often it's very difficult to adopt these things, because sometimes we had some bad experience with few tools that at the beginning were free and open source, and later they became commercial, and one of the tools that we used for mobile testing just disappeared all of a sudden. So there was no support anymore. So we needed, on the middle of our project, we needed to change technology, rewrite all tests, learn new things, and this was the reason why we didn't want it to. This was the reason why we didn't want it to start even considering using similar solutions that are free and open source. And then the other thing is that tools like Catalan Studio, for example, have came to all of these ideas also, but instead of separating them like button, what we can do on the bottom, they have one list, for example, one list for API, one list for web things, one list for mobile things. And even if I use them, I have used that tool, and I was teaching about that tool in several groups, and even I have experience of multiple years with that tool. The difficult for me is to remember that huge list. Where was what should I do with that type of element? For example, how was this? And it was very difficult to me. So some summaries. The good idea is try to reduce your code as much as possible. If you see people using different approaches, try to minimize these, to find the best approach. Maybe I've implemented maybe not the best approach. Maybe I've implemented the wrong approach, but again, still need to be improved. Don't use, as I said, too much page objects. Even the page object model should reduce, because you need to find, first of all, if you have a class, if you have a page that have, I don't know, 20, 30 elements, you will have at least 200, 300 lines of code, 20, 30 page objects. This will be some optimum, for example. It's not going to be minimum or maximum. And searching through that, debugging will be the most difficult part, because so many people have issues. Even experienced developers are having issues to debug code, and this will make problems. My recommendations are start creating maybe your own framework that will be used across your company, because if you extend, for example, maybe after some time I will decide to delete my framework from GitHub, and if someone is using and rely on that because of some reason, maybe I don't know, some company will decide to do something to say, yeah, I will give you some amount and that framework will be mine. So I don't want to happen that. So my recommendation is start your own, start from scratch and try to be as simple as possible. If someone is interested to I don't know, discuss these things and has some ideas, it can easily contact me on my email address, Gjore@civus.com. I have started writing some blogs. I don't have a lot of time to do it, but I have a few blog posts with interesting topics from conferences that I've talked. Then this is my GitHub account where you can easily find my framework and an easy sample how to use it with Maven, how to implement this framework from Maven repository. And yeah, that's pretty much all from this presentation. Let's move to slide on. The question is, what programming language is best to use Selenium on? This framework that I have is written in Java, but doesn't mean that we are only working Java in my company. So actually, I'm supporting usually C#, Java, and Python. I'm not the supporter of writing some Selenium tests with JavaScript, for example, or reinventing the things with JavaScript. I don't know, because of some reason I'm seeing JavaScript more confusing, but usually Java, C# are the same thing for me. So I'm just supporting both of them. The difficulties that we encounter in the test team, the things that mostly we're facing are the things that when someone is leaving the project, is leaving, I cannot say entire mess because it's working for him, but ununderstandable code for someone else. So this is the thing that I need to jump into that project, try to understand what someone did. That's why I have implemented this framework to overcome this issue, and this is the main reason. This was the main reason to come to simpler solution, so anyone can understand the code easily. Are there any other questions? Usually, yeah, this, and sometimes, as I mentioned, people don't understand programming. This is the most difficult part. So how to explain simple things to people that are seeing programming for the first time in their life. So yeah, because we have a few more minutes. Actually, we have 10 more minutes, so okay, any other questions? If you have questions, don't hesitate to contact me. So you can even contact me on LinkedIn. So Gjore Zaharchev is my LinkedIn account. Feel free to contact me at any time. Any other questions, or we can stop here and okay, yeah. Thank you then, and have a great day and excellent conference day.